to train two prominent Comintern agents in New Zealand. Comintern means Communist International.
Okay.
And you only need 2 or 3 Comintern agents to take over a country. And the 2 Comintern agents in New Zealand are Helen Clark and Margaret Wilson, and they are currently the Prime Minister and Speaker of the House of Parliament. So they control Parliament.
And is this a force then that is operating within, that you think, the government, that are actually, as you said before, they are the ones who are promoting the people who are in these positions of blackmail?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like, we have a completely, utterly, and totally blackmailed government. It's blackmailed by anyone with intelligence on them. So the latest book I published, it's on its 4th edition now, it's New Zealand, A Blackmailer's Guide. And that is essentially all of the crap that you'll need on politicians, the judiciary and the police to achieve whatever you want in the country, either on a large scale or for yourself individually. So, you know, all the blackmail information I made public, and I also published the list of names of and addresses of the SIS agents, the Security Intelligence Service agents.
Do you think that this is because New Zealand is under the jurisdiction of the Queen of England, isn't that right?
Yeah. New Zealand was still paying tax to the Queen of England until very recently, like the last 10 years or so, for the Maori Land Wars, which went in 1860 to 65.
Okay.
So, you know, we were paying for 130, 140 years. We were still paying tax to the Queen of England for her supplying a British army, which came in and through various devious means wiped out at least a third of the Maori population. And before that there was hepatitis and a whole lot of British diseases that wiped out a whole lot of the population. So the Maori were actually due to completely die off by 1947. So it was genocide.
Of course.
Crown-controlled, instigated genocide. And what the Queen did is she sent in double agents who, France did the same, sent them in as bishops and reverends, and they were generally pedophiles and military officers under cover of religion.
The common tune, was that the word you said before?
Comintern, yeah.
Comintern.
Communist Intern International.
All right. Do you think that there is a connection then between this organization and the Crown? What I'm getting at here is you know, is there a split between you know, the KGB organization as such and what the British government is doing, or are they happily married, so to speak?
Oh no, they're cousins. Well, the Germans and the British used to call themselves cousins, and the British used to call the Russians uncles. That was the code name, talk to uncle, which would mean talk to a Russian. Now, the British are essentially a British royal family, and a lot of the Parliament is a subset of the Rothschild family. And the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution was actually a Jewish takeover of Russia. And Stalin, who then took over the Bolshevik Revolution, you know, he got rid of Trotsky, etc. Then Lenin got murdered. So the Jewish takeover of Russia was superseded by Stalin's takeover of the Bolshevik Revolution. And Stalin was an illegitimate Rothschild. He was the son of Baron Edmund de Rothschild. And Baron Edmund de Rothschild was, it looks like, he was also the father of Chairman Mao.
What? Really?
Yeah, and also the father of Ho Chi Minh.
Okay, what is the connection there? What is the proof for that?
All of the, like, North Vietnam, China, Russia were all Israeli Jewish Rothschild instigated revolutions, and they are Israel socialist, communist, fascist experiments.
And is there any evidence, so to speak, for how the connection between the Rothschilds and Mao is? What is the connection?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Chairman Mao went on the Long March in 1934. He's supposedly escaping an attack in the south of China, and he walked through to the north of China.
Mm-hmm.
But he spent the whole time being carried on a palanquin, which is like 2 round posts with 4 people carrying it and a carriage on top where the person just sits.
Right.
Yeah, so Chairman Mao was actually carried on the Long March on that, and Baron Edmund de Rothschild also liked being carried on a palanquin. And so Chairman Mao left in 1934 with 80,000 people. By the time he got to North China, he had 5,000 people, 75,000 had died. So he would have been better off staying put. And when he got there, I might have my dates right, it might have been 1936, because Baron Edmund de Rothschild died in 1934.
Mm-hmm.
And when Chairman Mao got to North China, he hid in northern China in an area that was controlled by Russian communists. And they presented Chairman Mao with a gift of $500,000, which was essentially a will granted to his son from Baron Edmund de Rothschild, who had died. So in 1936, Chairman Mao was the richest man in China. So what he did is,
mm-hmm.
So what he did is he bought a whole lot of trinkets and goblets and golden objects and silver objects,
mm-hmm.
and had a room full of these. And he would say to the desperately poor Chinese people, "You can be part of this." And that he then seconded a whole regenerated and sort of greedy army around him. And then he met up with Ho Chi Minh again, who he knew from working in a restaurant together in Paris in 1923, and financed him as well for the communist takeover of North Vietnam.
So who's behind the research on this? Got any books or sources for this we can check out?
Well, I've actually written it up. I just haven't published it yet because it's like one long chapter, and I was just wondering how to fit it into a book.
Okay.
I've written 11 books and I've published 6. And
so this is a work in progress that you're doing. Is that what you're saying?
What's that?
So this is a work in progress that you're doing.
Well, it's just finished. I just haven't put it to print.
Okay.
Just having a lazy day.
Sure, but I mean, this kind of information, I guess we could take that across the board, and also in regards to some things, in regards to Hitler and so forth. Are there documentation of this? I mean, do the British government, for instance, leave a paper trail on this, or what is going on there?
There's a paper trail on Chairman Mao getting the $500,000. Right. And that's also confirmed with a paper trail in Russia. So that's been written up. It just hasn't reached the mainstream public yet. Because the thing about the public is when they find out the truth, they then have to realise that whatever they've learned about history in the last 30 years has been a crock of shit.
Sure.
And they should be very selective about the books they read, and the information they take in is real. And about 98% of the information we get is crap. It's just crap.
Well, at least the analysis of the information. In many cases, we can go in and extract information. Of course, that can be doctored too. That's not what I'm saying here. But archived information or reference works in that regard, we can extract information and make up our own minds about the information. But in many cases, we don't do that. But we have some expert sitting on some media channel and telling us what to think about the information. That's how I see it at this point, at least.
Oh, yeah. Well, like MI6 calls Brick House, which is where the BBC is.
Right.
Calls Brick House Bullshit House.
Exactly.
And the information that comes out of BBC/Bullshit House is a load of crap. It really is. The BBC is just a huge propaganda exercise. They organised the voting of Winston Churchill as Britain's greatest ever Briton.
Mm-hmm.
And they neglected to say that he is an illegitimate Rothschild, that he's the illegitimate son of King Edward VII, that he was the uncle to King George VI, who nominated him as a wartime Prime Minister, and that he was second cousin with Joseph Stalin and first cousin with Adolf Hitler's father, and that he was an enormous murderer, that he actually trained Joseph Stalin, and part of that training was the Sydney Street siege, which went down on the 2nd of January 1911. And that the end result of that was that Churchill decided he needed to arm the police with pistols, and he chose the worst possible pistol, which was the Webley Scott. And the Churchill family had a huge financial interest in Webley Scott. And Stalin got away with his training. His code name was Cobra when he was living in London. Stalin lived in London quite a while.
Really?
Off and on. Yeah, he was there. He was there a lot.
So
there a lot as well. So what Britain does, London is actually the training ground for international terrorism.
Right.
And you can virtually look at the British monarchy and say they are instigating, controlling, always, the next generation of international terrorism.
I mean, this is very...
Osama bin Laden went to school in Britain.
Say again?
Osama bin Laden went to school in Britain.
He did?
Yeah.
Huh. Well...
He's known as quite a nice guy. And he had a normal name when he was there. It wasn't Osama, it was some Anglo-Saxon name.
Well, I know that he actually he had a code name as Tim Osman, I think, but this was at the time he was in USA, but this is alleged when he was in America, USA.
Yeah, I published that. That was his code name, Tim Osman. I published that in about 2006.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the Bushes used to go on holiday with the bin Ladens, holiday with them in Saudi Arabia, and they did that for the last 20 years.
Right.
And then, supposedly, Osama bin Laden had an affair with Barbara Bush, George Herbert Bush's wife.
Oops.
In 2000. And then, so they blamed the 9/11 attacks on him.
Yeah, I've heard that he even died, I guess, of kidney failure in late 2001, or actually before September 11th. So he was the perfect kind of fall guy to take the blame for it all, the invisible ghost almost. So you can chase him forever, basically.
Well, I actually think that you can, if there's a kidney problem, you can always get a kidney transplant, especially when you're a trillionaire. So I actually think that the supposed death of Osama bin Laden in that American-controlled hospital was actually a fake to stop people with that piece of inside information from looking for him.
Oh, really?
Well, the American military hasn't stopped looking for him. Mind you, they also haven't tried to look for him.
Exactly.
They've said that the war on terror is to find Osama bin Laden. They've never said publicly that Osama bin Laden is dead, because it doesn't serve their purposes.
Exactly, yeah.
It serves the purposes of the bin Laden family to say that Osama bin Laden is dead, because it makes it easier to protect them.
How do you mean? Expand on that a little bit. How does that protect them?
Well, if there's information that Osama bin Laden is dead, then people won't look for him. Whereas the American military and the American government, if they're having a war on terror, they need to keep it in the public minds that the supposed lead terrorist is still alive, so they can go searching for him and kill other people in his place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to...
Go ahead.
I just wanted to actually go back a little bit and talk about the Tavistock Institute a little bit more. You mentioned that